I could aim a vengeance!
What's up everyone, today I'm showing you my reworked ultimate bow staff build for Naoe in Assassin's Creed Shadows. So a while back I made a bow staff build that was an absolute beast, but after spending more time experimenting with different gear combinations, I can honestly say this version is on a completely different level. Not only does it deal some absolutely ridiculous damage, but it also has a few tricks up its sleeve when it comes to stealth, especially if you enjoy chaining together multiple stealth assassinations. This is a bow staff only build, meaning it revolves entirely around getting the most out of this specific weapon. One of the things that makes the bow staff so much fun is its versatility. It's incredible for crowd control, has amazing posture attacks, and on top of that it features multiple combat stances. You can perform low, mid and high stance attacks, each with their own animations and uses, making the weapon feel incredibly satisfying to master. One quick heads up before we begin. If you want to completely recreate this build, you will need the Claws of Awaji DLC, as a couple of items are from that expansion. So before we jump in, if you enjoyed the video make sure to leave a like, and if you're looking for more Assassin's Creed Shadows builds, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. With that out of the way, let's get into the ultimate bow staff build for Naoe. First up, and of course the star of the show, is the bow staff. And for this one we're using the equality bow. The reason we're using this weapon is because of its unique engraving that perfect flow attacks push back enemies and create an area of effect. So whenever you perform attacks during a perfect flow, you will notice this weapon briefly glowing white. You will knock surrounding enemies back, giving yourself valuable breathing room. This is incredibly useful whenever you're fighting groups of enemies and makes crowd control much easier. To further increase our damage, I added the engraving that gives a plus 100% armor piercing on critical hits. Together these two effects create the foundation of the build by combining survivability with huge burst damage. You can find the equality bow in a bandit camp located right here on the map. Moving on to the headpiece. We're using the Bow Disciple headband. Its main engraving guarantees critical hits after switching targets. And since this build is all about diving into groups and constantly changing targets, you'll be triggering guaranteed critical hits almost non-stop. It also pairs perfectly with the armor piercing engraving on the bow staff, allowing those critical hits to deal even more damage. For the second engraving I went with the engraving from the Bowmaster's headband. This one shifts the build slightly towards stealth gameplay. One of the coolest features of the bow staff is that it allows you to perform chain assassinations, and with this engraving equipped, you can gain one additional chain assassination. That means you can eliminate even larger groups of enemies before combat even begins, and honestly it's incredibly satisfying to pull off. The Bow Disciple headband is obtained by completing the Go with the Bow quest, which starts at Gen 0 in your hideout. And I'm not entirely sure whether it's available from the start or if you have to complete the main story. The Bowmaster's headband can be found right here at the Ura shipyard on Awaji Island. For the armor I'm using a well-rolled pair of Shade Walker robes. The reason is the main engraving, which grants a plus 50% posture damage on your next hit after a kill. And since posture attacks are such a huge part of this build, you will be constantly benefiting from this bonus while moving from enemy to enemy. To push the demon even further, I added another engraving that grants a plus 50% damage on your next hit after a kill. Finally, we have the Trinket, and this is what really sends the build damage through the roof. For this slot, I'm using Oni's Bite, which has become my go-to trinket for critical hit builds. Its unique engraving grants a plus 2% critical damage per mastery point invested in the katana skill tree. So even though this is a bow staff build, you will actually want to invest plenty of mastery points into the katana skill tree to maximize this bonus. And this synergizes perfectly with the guaranteed critical hits from the bow disciple headband, meaning every time you switch targets, your next attack has a potential to hit like an absolute truck. For the second engraving, I chose the one from the Elegance Defined Trinket, which grants a plus 1% posture damage per mastery point invested in the bow skill tree. This gives your posture attacks yet another massive damage increase and rounds out the build perfectly. You can find the Oni's Bite inside an unmarked cave located right here on the map. And the Elegance Defined engraving is obtained by completing the Way of the Bow questline in Awaji Island as part of the Claws of Awaji DLC. So with everything combined, you end up with an incredibly powerful bow staff build that excels at both stealth and open combat. You can chain together multiple assassinations before a fight even starts, while your critical hits and posture attacks deal some absolutely insane damage once combat begins. The synergy between every piece of gear is honestly what makes this build so much fun to play and what makes it an absolute beast. For those wondering about skills, here's a quick look at my bow staff skill tree. The main ability I'm using is Wind Step, and it's honestly one of the strongest abilities available for the weapon. It deals excellent damage while simultaneously pushing nearby enemies away, making it perfect for controlling large groups and creating space whenever things get hectic. And that is it for my reworked ultimate bow staff build for Naoe. So if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe for more Assassin's Creed Shadows content, builds and guides, and as always, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next one.